Wrestle me, Mark.
Wrestle me, Pete. We are looking, because we had so much fun last time doing the opening episode of Raw, we've made the decision to get cracking straight onto episode 2 of Raw. From the 18th of January, 1993. What a delightful, fun watch this has turned out to be.
And you can watch these on the network. And I really, really I think I enjoyed the second one more than I enjoyed the first one.
Yeah, it's funny, but it's a weird thing about a lot of wrestling. Even as a fan, I can find it. There's too much of it. It's too long. Yeah. You watch so much of it that you just begin to sort of take everything for granted. And this is a reminder of a time when wrestling was a bit better rationed. And so you could watch it and it's over fairly quickly and it moves like no one's business. There is no padding in these Raws. They're an hour long and they are just constant. Oh, there are a couple of the bits like with Mr. Perfect and Ric Flair. I mean, geez, there's some great stuff in this. On this one, we've got Vince McMahon, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Rob Bartlett's back.
He's back. He's back. Well,
doubling down on his King of the Twats look as well. Really chewing his gum. He's got this horrible 90s sort of mix of leather and brown fabric top on as well, like a zip up. And it's like coconut matting, the brown stuff. My dad, I don't know how it happened, but he ended up getting loads and loads of carpet squares when they were redoing his office at work.
Right.
And we had these carpet squares all over the house. But these carpet squares, they weren't like meant for houses. They were meant for like offices where loads of people would be coming in. And so they were just like wire wool, these squares. You'd walk on them without shoes on, even if you had like socks on, and you'd be like, that hurts. That hurts a lot. That's what that jacket reminded me of, like the hair on coconuts. And then just as it starts, bang! Oh my God, in comes Repo Man. Literally
Repo Man absolutely bodies Macho Man. He absolutely drops the poor man.
Oh,
he looks like he's genuinely clattered him.
He is.
Fantastic.
He is. I think he's basically gone, this is it. So Repo Man used to be Demolition Smash. Used to be Smash from Demolition. Axe has had to retire because he ate really bad sushi and it gave him the symptoms of a heart attack. And so he said, I'm going to stop wrestling now. And Smash has been repackaged after a short solo career as Repo Man. And he's obviously gone, this is it. I can't let this go badly. And this is the first time they've said to him, we're giving you something to do. And he absolutely owns this show. He is phenomenal. He's always been one of those people I'm like, oh, it's so boring to see Repo Man. He's so rubbish and everything. And in this one, he is like a Shakespearean spirit of chaos. He's running around. He's like giggling. When he moves, he doesn't just go a walk. He's like crouched and scuttering. It's like skittering everywhere. I love his work in this so much. But yeah, he knocks out Macho Man like you wouldn't believe. And he immediately nicks his fluorescent space cowboy hat.
The thing that I understand it's important to Macho Man Randy Savage that his hat exists, but it was never part of his character. He never talks about his hat. You know what I mean? Like, it's part of his look, sure. Well, and he's the Macho Man. But
later on, we'll find out some facts which I think are genuinely upsetting about how, for example, the Macho Man hasn't been able to buy that hat outright. And instead, he's become late and he's incurred non-payments on his hat. I mean,
it's going terribly for him.
Going well. That hat, even if you bought it from a special stupid place, that hat would be a maximum of what? $300, say. $300. He has got a payment plan on it, and he's been missing the payments.
He's put it on layaway, and the Repo Man doesn't seem. He's not read his rights. He's just absolutely clattered him and run off with his hat.
Yes, I love it. We then have our first match, which is Mr. Perfect versus terrific Terry Taylor. Perfect comes in. He is so at home with this audience. He loves having a live audience, and it's funny when you're so used to seeing these guys in these big arenas and things, and they're all sort of much of a muchness. And Hennig, Mr. Perfect, really, really connects with an audience. You can see him giving everyone the eye. He's playing to the crowd brilliantly. Little things like that where you just go, you can see why people thought he was one of the best of all time to work with. The way he works the crowd is exceptionally fascinating to watch just in this little bit.
You sure that's Mr. Perfect and not Tom Arnold?
Are you sure this is Mr. Perfect, not Tom Arnold? Says Rob Bartlett.
It's just, I don't know what the joke was there. Tom Arnold at the time, he's obviously got out with Roseanne. He had drug problems. Is that the thing? I don't know what the...
Maybe she'd have said he's my perfect man and he's just like perfect. That's this, that's that. But it's
just confusing.
I mean, a time has not been kind to it, but at the time it must have been like the most root one thing that you could say.
Yeah. It must have been saying words, isn't he?
Exactly.
He's just kind of saying something.
And his attempt to kind of go, I'll make this good by bringing in popular cultural references. And it doesn't, it cheapens it. It makes it seem worse. Battle here between two men with Terry Taylor and Mr. Perfect, of two men who sort of the popular slight misconception. They came into WWF at exactly the same time. And it was always said that there were two gimmicks and Vince McMahon didn't know which of them was going to get the gimmick. And one of the gimmicks was Mr. Perfect and the other gimmick was the Red Rooster. And he went back and forth and eventually decided that Curt Hennig would become Mr. Perfect and go on to a sort of main event career. And Terry Taylor would be the Red Rooster, which would effectively kill what had been a brilliant career up to that point. It's not quite that simple. I think Terry Taylor was always lined up for that Red Rooster gimmick. But interesting to see two men who, they come together and they have that shared history of one going up, the other going down at a moment where it seemed like it could have gone either way. Repo Man, he wanted to see Randy topless, obviously, says Rob Bartlett in the middle. Never bring sex into wrestling. Don't bring it in. They're hugging there. I bet they want to kiss and I bet they want to touch each other's bodies. Don't do it. Don't do it.
The way that sort of Macho Man Randy Savage kind of reacts to getting back into the commentator's table, and he's sort of going, he's annoyed about his hat, but it's kind of manageable, and he kind of understands why the Repo Man's got his hat. So maybe he has got on layaway, because he sort of goes, who's got my hat? And they go, Repo Man, and he goes, oh, okay, I can get that back. Like he's annoyed, but it's a manageable variable, so to speak.
Look, this match is in the background, but they are doing that, and Rob Bartlett starts making a thing about going, can you go and check my car? And it doesn't make any sense until right at the very end. At least with Macho, they've gone, you've got this 1 hour, and just do this storyline, and it will be, and you'll get something at the end. With Rob Bartlett, they said the same thing, but he doesn't know how to build it. So he doesn't sort of go, I'm worried about this. So with this Repo Man guy around, I got a car out there that I may have. He doesn't do any of that. He just starts going, would you check on my car? To people occasionally.
People don't know about your car.
No one knows about your fucking car. No one. You're constantly going on about your car. What did you say about my hat? Says Savage at one point. Where's my hat? I like that thing of someone going, I'm sorry about your hat. What did you say about my hat? Just it's mad that a hat becomes such an important part of an hour-long TV show. So we have Bobby Heenan on the phone, and he is...
sounds like he's in a walkie-talkie.
It's so good, isn't it?
They've got the phone sound a little bit wonky. It just sounds like he's on a walkie-talkie.
I mean, there's a fair number of podcasts that do exactly the same. There's no reason for it, but it does always sound like that.
Forget about Mr. Perfect. I got something to talk to you about.
Like what?
Like what? Who does Ron Bartley think he is, showing a photo of me and then tearing it up? He's lucky I don't want that job or I'd have that job.
Heenan just reminds you what an absolute terrible loss having Heenan not on the show is. He's so good in this section. He's furious that Rob Bartlett is there, and he says things like, he's lucky I don't want that job or I'd have that job. He then does an advert for his own show listing not just the day, but the 2 times it's on, both Eastern and Central. And McMahon laughs at that because McMahon is like, you fantastic old pro. Even McMahon is just like, yeah, you are the best. There's a point where it goes a bit quiet, and Heenan is, he just starts going, hello? He's so good, even when it's just gone quiet. He's just like, I can fill this, and I can fill it in a funny way. Just brilliant. Macho Man is now just, whenever he speaks, grumbling about the Repo Man.
About his hat.
Going on about his hat.
It's already, like, you've made this and you've pushed it absolutely off the rails immediately. No one's talking about the wrestling. One man's outside, one man's cracking jokes about politics. Hello. Tom Arnold.
Where's my hat? I'm Tom Arnold. I don't know about that. Just an amazing soundboard. The match ends with Ric Flair just runs in and he knocks Mr. Perfect about, doesn't get disqualified for whatever reason. And Perfect is rolled back in and immediately pins Terry Taylor, makes him look like an absolute goon by just pinning him after being beaten up. Taylor has no luck. A bit of a sort of odd ending, but what it's doing, again, what they do so well in these early episodes is they set up short-term storylines storylines so efficiently and so easily. So Perfect and Flair have had a bit of a rivalry, and now Flair is bringing it to a head. And that's what the whole of this show will be about. The whole of this show is brilliantly building the angle they're going to have next week, which is a big match, which is a loser leaves WWF match. I mean, look, this episode just gets better and better. You get the ring girl coming out. Suddenly there's an Alfred Hayes voiceover. Promotional consideration paid for by the following. And you get Bret Hart doing an Ica Pro advert.
Yes, in a very shiny ceiling gym.
Yeah,
very weird.
I think that's the WWF's corporate headquarters gym.
Is it right?
Quite often you see photos of Vince McMahon working out in there. It's totally mirrored ceiling, so you can really see yourself doing all the moves.
See the pump.
And taking the Ica Pro, num, num, num. And then you get Randy Savage in his Slim Jim ad.
Yeah,
Savage would do that for years and years.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Gotta have beef, gotta have spice, need a little excitement. Snap it to a Slim Jim. Oh, yeah.
Vince then is in the ring with Bret Hart, the champion, and they're talking about Razor Ramon at the Royal Rumble. Which is
he's annoyed that someone slapped his dad. Oh, do not slap my dad. I mean, he can take care of himself, but still.
Oh, he can, yeah. He's a bully. He's a horrible bully, Bret Hart's dad, even as an old man. I don't care where you come from. You don't even think about slapping a 78-year-old man, he said.
Well, don't
care where you come from.
And you know what even blows my mind more than anything is Razor Ramon actually talking about slapping my father. You know, I would think just about all wrestlers would respect my father. He's going to be 78 years old. You know, I don't care where you've come from, but you just don't even think about slapping a 78-year-old man. Not that my dad needs any help.
It's just a strange thing. He thinks there are some places in the world that are like, we are fine with that. And
that's all they do.
But I disagree with it. I do disagree with it.
Tribes that have never met kind of Western influence, and they're just constantly slapping 75-year-old people.
Razor Ramon is the lowest scum in the WWF. He's not even at the bottom of the barrel. You got to tip the barrel up.
Tip the barrel.
That's where you find Razor Ramon.
He went off script there, and we did not get anything out of that. He's like, you have to tilt the barrel slightly and rotate it on its axis just to get the bottom of the barrel.
When you tip the barrel up, there's something lower than the bottom.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense because it's the side.
Yeah, but you got to tip up the that's the scum. The scum that I would also say scum is too strong a word. When you use that, it's got a bit of a sort of like too much of a punch.
Yes,
Razor Ramon's the lowest scum. So, oh, Christ. I think I say it because of wrestling. And I think I hear it when you go, you know, you're nothing but scum. You two-bit piece of scum. And I'm sort of like, it's a friendly word, but if you use it in public on people will just go, they would just burst into tears.
And Razor Ramon, I'm going to kick you down on Conscious Street.
What about, I know he doesn't care where you come from, right? But what if you come from Unconscious Street?
Yeah, exactly.
People from Unconscious Street.
You're doing the hitting, or you're asleep, so you don't even notice anyone slapping a 75-year-old.
How can you tell people from Unconscious Street that they can't even think about slapping a 78-year-old man? You know, that's how they're brought up. That's how you're brought up on Unconscious Street. It's also how you put down on Unconscious Street. And Pete, why nobody talks about this next bit? This was the most astonishing thing I've seen, maybe since we started doing Wrestle Me, is we would Undertaker promo for Headlock on Hunger. WWF had a thing called Headlock on Hunger.
Yes,
for Somalia Relief Fund. There had been a huge famine in Somalia. No one's ever been quite sure what a Headlock on Hunger was. Even when they've said to them, go out there and do a 3-minute thing about Headlock on Hunger.
Yeah.
They've sort of gone, oh yeah, so what sort of thing to say? And they just go, don't know. Just don't know.
Yeah. It's literally the last couple of goons from the WWE that you need talking about people dying of hunger.
Think of all the other wrestlers they have. And they went, we're going to do this. But they obviously go, but obviously there's a taste issue here. So what we need to do, we have Paul come out and say, my Undertaker kills plenty of people, but they have all consented to being in the ring with him and are aware of the consequences, but not in Somalia.
Oh, when my Undertaker's victims enter the ring, they have a choice. But in Somalia, too many people are dying. The World Wrestling Federation is putting a headlock on hunger.
Then the Undertaker, his line, no one should starve to death. What? How?
Why have they done this? Why have they done this?
And you watched it back, you would go, there is no way we're putting that out. There is no way. Just bizarre.
It would be less tasteless if you had like a Slim Jim tie-in. Like, I have a Slim Jim in Somalia. Like, it wouldn't be as bad as what we had there. The Undertaker go, no one should die of hunger.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, what? But you can kill them. Yeah. I kill them because they agreed to a sporting contest. Just appalling. So tone deaf. But I can't believe that isn't a constant thing online. That people just constantly go, I can't believe this exists.
No one should starve to death. It all starts less than 2 weeks away, Friday.
The second match is Marty Jannetty versus Glenn Ruth. Babe Ruth's illegitimate son. I don't know about that, says Vince.
Just shit.
Vince's legal defense of I don't know about that. It is not. It's like people who think allegedly, you know.
Yes, we'll
that local businessman raped a dog, allegedly. Oh, you're in court. There's a local businessman, Vince, he raped a dog. I don't know about that. Legally. Absolutely unsound. Absolutely unsound. Glenn Ruth gets, he's the first, if you like, jobber to ever appear on Raw. But he wouldn't always be a jobber. He would have a run, Glenn Ruth, in the Attitude Era. As Thrasher of the Headbangers tag team. They would be the WWF tag team champions at one point. I had a quick look to see what he's up to now. He currently runs a Papa John's in Coral Springs in Florida.
Lovely.
Yeah, Glenn Ruth. This match is appalling. It's really bad. Marty Jannetty has got an Intercontinental Championship match at the Royal Rumble coming up with Shawn Michaels, and he's a big contender for a big belt at the time. And it takes him ages to beat a jobber. They do arm drags and arm ringers and arm twists. Twice during the match, the fans chant, "We want Shawn." I mean, it's just so excruciatingly humiliating for Jannetty, considering how sort of wild and stupid we know he is. Yes. He's also amazingly uncharismatic and boring in this. You know, he's just, he looks a bit tired. He looks a little bit fucked, and he looks a bit pissed off that it's all going wrong. And that's a bad combination. You've also got Shawn Michaels on the phone during this.
They seem to sort of interject these kind of like phone calls in because they're sort of saying, look, anything can happen. It's live. Someone could phone in. There's nothing more exciting than a phone call back in the day, is there? There's nothing more exciting.
True. That is true. Imagine the ability to ring in to a television show.
It's so exciting.
People still ring in and are excited and text radio stations, which is bonkers if you think about it. Absolutely mad. I could listen to it on Spotify, or I could pay it to text to see if it could be played at a time where I might not be listening. They cut away to some ads, and then when it comes back, Rob Bartlett is reading the New York Post, and he puts it down when the cameras are back on. You unprofessional shit. You unprofessional shit.
Is that not a gag?
No, I don't think it is. I think it would be if he was reading it and holding it up and then was like, whoa, but he's reading it and it comes back and he looks up and he just slides it with his hand. It's like, oh, you awful man. But he gets his comeuppance immediately. They get talking about how Doink, the clown, has hit Crush with a cast. And Rob Bartlett turns to McMahon looking bored and he just goes, he didn't have a leg to stand on after Crush. I mean, dork. He beat him with an arm. Like that. And Vince McMahon looks at him as he's halfway through with a look of mounting horror and disgust, where he's just like, I hate you. I just hate you. It's so good. Bartlett, after that, as they go, well, that's so Doink, because Bartlett is sitting there and he's just shaking his head from side to side like this. And at one point, they cut to a close-up of Rob Bartlett just shaking his head. And then it cuts back and he's still shaking his head. Can you hear my phone ringing by any chance?
It's Rob Bartlett. It's nothing more exciting than a phone call, Mark.
It might be Shawn Michaels.
Crush, what we saw this past weekend. What a number this goofy clown did on Crush.
He didn't have a leg to stand on after Crush. Dork not beat him with his arm.
Took his arm off, folks. For the benefit of those of you who did not see it, it was bizarre. Very, very strange.
The fact that is more embarrassing than the bit where Randy Savage runs into the traffic shouting, "Where's my hat? Where's my hat?" running into the traffic at
spinning
night
around
like a fucking junkie about hats. This guy is at rock bottom, isn't he? Running into the moving traffic at night, screaming about your hat.
What a poem this is going to be for Lanny.
We see the little bit where Crush does get beaten up by Doink with his fake arm. No need for Doink to have a fake arm here because he just waits for Crush to turn around, then he begins smacking him over the head.
Why has he got an extra arm? Like, why has he got... And then the kids are so shocked.
Yes.
Like, it's very funny how shit the actual hand looks when he's actually got it in the sling.
Yeah.
But when he takes it off and hits him, the kid, I thought it looked shit, but the kids proved me very much wrong. The kids will never sleep again.
No, completely.
What they've seen.
I would say that, Doink, Matt Bourne, really does batter Crush. And he does it in a way that he is entirely not acting as a clown. He is now a violent man, which I think, he slightly was. And I think it's a great twist in how he did it, which is if you are in that role, you have to go in as hard as possible to get it over.
Yes.
And he really does. My favourite bit on this is because he's Doink, he's given Crush a flower, and there's been a bit of kerfuffle in, it's taken a bit of time to get to that. And Vince McMahon says the line, "At least he got a flower out of the whole thing." And Vince is sort of like, that is a good deal. He didn't come out of it with nothing from the chat.
Yeah.
He got a flower. Yeah. And then he gets an absolute battering.
Word on the street is that Doink's arm was filled with lead. And I just like to say best wishes to Crush. I hope he gets better.
And then McMahon goes, sadly, Crush has suffered a concussion. And he waits for ages to say concussion. It sounds like he's about to announce his death. I'm afraid that Crush is dead. The word was correct.
I'm afraid this angle will be stopped because the man playing Crush was legitimately killed. And then we get to the bit that it just made my heart sore. This was so good. Sean Mooney's outside, and here comes Repo Man.
And the Repo Man, I forget because he was further away before and jumping around. I forgot that he's got tires for shoulder pads. It's very funny.
Macho Man, it turns out, has missed payments on his hat. Heenan in the telephone call has made clear that this is a cheap hat. How badly Savage is doing that he has to buy a cheap hat and pay in installments.
Well, he's building a labyrinth to keep his wife in, and it's very expensive.
Can't waste brick money on the hat. Repo Man then starts to almost go into business for himself, and he brings in an element of going, "I am jealous of you, and I've been watching you from afar for a long time." He says, "But you've never noticed me. You never noticed."
In fact, I've been watching him for a long time, and he never paid any attention to me. But now he is, and he's going to get me in the ring.
Well, you stole his hat, and
you still no hat. Hey, I'm a nice.
And I was thinking, that doesn't sound like the character of Repo Man.
No, Repo Man's got a job to do, and Macho Man.
That sounds to me like Barry Darsow from Demolition, talking about how Savage hasn't, I've been watching you a long time, but you never noticed me. You notice me now. This is the one night where the Repo Man character, it works, and he does it just full of malevolent glee, and it's so good.
Hey, just remember, I have your hat.
Hey, I don't care.
And that's your prized possession.
That's okay. Hey,
you were late with the payments, and I got it. Hey, I got your attention. This is gonna be great.
All right, that's taking out to the Royal.
We have the third match, Ric Flair versus El Matador Tito Santana. Always quiet dignity from Tito. And Flair, the man is at home wrestling anyway. You can put him in a vast place or a small place. Here, unusually, when you see him in the big arenas, he seems like one of the pack. Bringing him in here, it almost seems like he's bigger than this venue. And that's a really odd thing to see in this. Santana's got a lot in common with Ricky Steamboat. Both career baby faces, lovely, smooth wrestlers, great conditioning. No one has a bad word to say about either of them. Although Santana didn't really get the credit that he deserved. I think, if we could have seen Ric Flair versus Tito Santana between 81 and 84, we would be talking about those as being all-time classics. They are two beautiful, beautiful wrestlers. Ric Flair at one point comes over and he's obviously had previous sort of matches with Randy Savage, and brilliantly, he just comes over and just goes, "Hey, Macho Man, I'm talking to you," like that. And Savage looks like, the night I'm having.
Don't need this as well.
No, and Flair's got nothing else to give other than that, just to kind of go, talking to you, like that. And Savage just like, "Oh man, this night's never going to end." Love it.
Unbelievable.
One-on-one.
Then Mr. Perfect runs in, batters Ric Flair about. Rob Bartlett says, "Is this Monday Night Raw or West Side Story?" It's Monday Night Raw. West Side Story, 32 years old at that point as well. So it would be like me making references in this podcast to Turner and Hooch, Look Who's Talking, and Batman.
I'm
all of
sure
which I probably have done. What are you? There's a big post-show angle where Flair turns to the camera. Now, Flair knows he is leaving the WWF. So he's felt in the last couple of months he's come off the main event. He's no longer the champion, and he's beginning to slightly move down the card. And when he signed his deal, he had a gentleman's agreement with Vince McMahon that if he ever felt he wasn't in the right position at the top of the card, that Vince McMahon would let him go. And so he does go to Vince McMahon and says, "I'm not really in the main event anymore. This has been really fun, but I think I might move on." And Vince McMahon says to him, "No problem." Just an amazing sort of, show of respect for the greatest of all time. And so what they do very quickly here is they go, "Well, let's get someone over on the way out." So they quickly build a loser leaves WWF match for the following week between him and Mr. Perfect. And Flair, credit to him, he doesn't come out and do half measures with this. He comes out and he sells this as brilliantly. He sells it like he's not going. And so you get the perfect build. And in 30 seconds, he has set up that he is absolutely furious with Perfect. There's only one way to solve it, and that is a loser leaves WWF match next week.
You're not man enough. You haven't got the guts, and you will never see the day in your life you beat Ric Flair.
Take a Prozac.
Rob Bartlett says, "Take a Prozac" at the end of it, which undercuts it, the stupid dickhead.
Such a fucking bell.
Rob Bartlett's car is then repossessed, and Rob Bartlett does the shittest. "Hey, that's my car, no."
Hey,
You gotta be real.
hey, that's my car. Hey, where's it go? That's my car.
You pay, Repo.
I want my car.
I'm gonna get ya.
No.
It's so...
Having spent the whole show not really setting
talking
out
about his car.
And look, Repo Man, it's a career highlight for Repo Man this fortnight. I was thinking, look, give me a Repo Man with Macho Man's hat figure, and I will buy that figure. I am keen.
We could probably make it.
So I had a quick look at Barry Darso's Twitter. He's at Real Demo Smash, going with the demolition thing. He seems like the nicest guy in the world. Really, he calls everybody he talks about is great. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, I love wrestling this guy, one of the greats. Absolutely one of the greats. All that. He also loves every match he watches. So he'll sort of go, "I just watched Matt Hardy wrestling with Private Party on AEW. Great match, incredible guys." All that. I had a quick look at some of them. July the 19th, watching Pink documentary at Wembley Stadium. Great memories wrestling there. She's awesome. May the 9th, Happy Mother's Day. They're all amazing. December the 5th, 2020. My mom just turned 91 today and she is incredible. And 6th of October, 2020. 61. And I love birthdays and my wife for the great dessert. It's just the nicest thing.
He's so wholesome. So we got to find something he hates.